It's been 1 year since we last visited Phantom Creek Estates. We're looking forward to seeing the progress they've made, as well as the hard work nurturing new vines and converting all existing vineyards to organic and eventually biodynamic farming. During our last stop, we taste some of the 2016 Syrah and the first white wine vintage overseen by famed Alsace wine grower Olivier Humbrecht. We also look at the vineyards in the Similkameen and a major new site recently acquired on the Golden Mile Bench sub-appellation. Phantom Creek's winemaker Ross Weiss and marketing manager Jeffrey Moss walked me through the building site of the new winery. The winery symbolizes the ambitious goals Phantom Creek is pursuing, designed by a Napa-based architectural firm which is designed for notable wineries such as Harlan Estates, Paul Hobbs, and Ovid, though none come close to the remarkable 79,000 square feet of this building. The winery also will include an open-air amphitheater, a fine dining restaurant, as well as a 2-level hospitality building. Well, it was about a year ago I was standing on the crush pad at the other end looking into the cellar. Now I'm standing in what is probably the best restaurant table view in the valley.
As you know, the Bai family traveled extensively in search of finding the ideal vineyards to realize their dream of building one of the leading wineries in Canada. And ultimately that search took them here to Becker Vineyard on the Black Sage Bench. And then we also have Phantom Creek Vineyard across the road. And after visiting over 100 wineries from Napa to Bordeaux to Alsace, I think you can see with this view that they've made a pretty good decision.
So tell us a little bit about the hospitality center and what's underground.
So right now we're in the restaurant. More importantly, below us we have the winery itself. Below ground, benefiting from the cooling influence of the sand that's back on top of it.
When Phantom Creek opens in the spring of 2019, visitors to the terrace will be treated to a stunning view of the South Okanagan and Osoyoos Lake. Phantom Creek made a major vineyard purchase on the Golden Mile Bench last November. The 63-acre vineyard, formerly part of C.C. Jens and renamed Cobo Vineyard, is less than a 10-minute drive west and slightly north from the home estate on the Black Sage Bench. Although planted to mostly the same Bordeaux grapes as the Black Sage Bench vineyards, there will be a noticeably different style. The west side grapes receive the early morning sun, but are in the shadow of Mount Cobo by late afternoon, while the Black Sage Bench grapes will bask in the late day summer sun until as late as 10 p.m. for several months. So Ross, tell us a little bit about how the grapes react on this side of the valley.
So here we get the sun coming over the Monashee Mountains much earlier in the morning. So they get a lot of morning sun here, but that's not the hottest time of the day. The hottest time of the day here is the mid to late afternoon.
Right.
And the sun disappears here a bit earlier because of the Cobo Mountain and the hills behind us here. So what that does is, if in effect this is a cooler vineyard than the Black Sage Bench on the other side of the mountain. So that gives us grapes with a little bit more acidity. They take longer to ripen. So that's a different complexity than we get from the other side of the valley, which at the end of the day gives us lots of different batches of different character to blend into the final wine.
Okay, tell us a little bit about this aspect, what's special about it for you.
Yeah, so this is a very exciting site. It's much different than we have on the other side of the valley. The other side we've got those great deep sands. They're very well drained. They warm up a lot in the summer. Here we've got a lot more moisture in the soil and a lot more rock. There's many different rock materials forming the soil, and the soils tend to be darker, richer, and hold more moisture, and that gives different characters to the wine. So here we get more depth and earthy flavors in the wine, whereas we get a lot of fruit and opulence in the other side of the valley.
So Ross, you have the chance now to work with Olivier Humbrecht. He's famous for his viticulture in terms of organics and biodynamics. What is the plan for this Golden Mile Bench property?
Yeah, so this property, like all of our properties, it's in conversion to organics at the moment. We're working with Olivier on that, and he's guiding our processes. He's such a wealth of knowledge. We're thrilled to work with him. We really believe organics and biodynamics is going to help us make better wine. We think we've got a great climate for it here. It's such a dry, sunny climate. We get very low disease pressure. We don't like using herbicide at all, so it's a great opportunity to move away from that. We like biodiversity in the vineyard. We like the different grasses and the insects that they bring in. And we also like to look after the wild yeast populations on our vines, and that helps us bring complexity to the final wines by wild ferments in the winery. Almost directly over the 1,800-meter Mount Cobo is Phantom Creek's new property in the Similkameen Valley. It's called Everton Spring. It's raw, uncultivated land identified by Humbrecht
as having exceptional potential for Pinot Gris. In this beautiful windy valley surrounded by steep and crumbling peaks, Phantom Creek is contouring 65 acres of rocky soil where they'll plant their vines next year in 2019.
So Ross, a lot of people think about Phantom Creek. The first thing they think about is red wine, but you're actually going to produce some pretty interesting white wines here.
Yeah, so 2017 was our first white wine harvest. We were lucky enough to be able to work with some Riesling from a great site in East Kelowna. And on top of that, we found some great Pinot Gris from Okanagan Falls area. So we worked with Olivier Humbrecht to develop a white wine program that revolves around long press cycles, natural fermentation, aging in these beautiful 3,000 litre oak casks, and long-term aging. We're not afraid of leaving them in the cask for a long time on their lees. We're going for complexity and richness, and
yeah, pretty impressive, and delicacy too in all the wines, but with great character and length. So Ross, it's your first crack at really what's become a famous wine made here in BC.
Yeah, the Phantom Creek Vineyard Syrah certainly has a name for itself. So yeah, the 2016 is our first attempt at it as a winery. The wine has now been in this barrel undisturbed for 18 months, and it's due to go to bottle in about 3 weeks.
I know how much you love to talk about how to make wine, but just a little insight into the way that you're going to make Syrah here at Phantom Creek.
Yeah, sure. So for Syrah, we've got a lot of heat here, so we want to pick it a little bit early and retain some freshness.
Yeah.
We're adding some stems to the fermentation to bring a bit of complexity, using natural yeast like all our wines. And we're using very gentle, tight-grained French oak. So we're looking for minimal oak impact, really, just to support the fruit and add a touch of more complexity.
Looks like you're off to a great start. What I love is that you're actually not reading a history book, but rather living the history here. Do you feel that when you come to work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really exciting time. We're all very proud to be here, and I think hopefully we're building our own little chapter of Canadian wine history right now.